Good afternoon. I'm Inspector Don Coleman, Coleman, with the Calgary Police Service Major Crimes Section. And the Calgary Police Service has charged a man in connection with dismembering and trying to dispose of a woman's body after she passed away. At approximately 8 a.m. on Wednesday, June 8, 2016, police were called to a lightly forested area on the west side of the intersection of Centre Street North and Samus Road Northeast after a citizen found a body. After investigating a tip from the public, we now believe the woman died at a residence in the 3900 block of First Street Northwest, and it is alleged a man who lived at that residence then decided to dispose of her remains in multiple locations, including the park in Crescent Heights. Joshua Jordan Weiss, 40, of Calgary, is charged with 1 count of offering an indignity to human remains, and he appeared in court this morning. The identity of the victim will not be released, as we have not yet positively identified her and whether she died as a result of a criminal act. However, we continue to work with the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner to determine the cause of death. And the woman's next of kin has been notified. We would like to sincerely thank the media and public for their assistance with this investigation. Some of the information we received through tips was key to moving this investigation forward. And as this investigation is still ongoing, anyone with information about this incident or the identity of the woman is asked to call Calgary Police Service non-emergency line at 266-1234, the Homicide Unit tip line at 403-428-8877, or Crime Stoppers anonymously. Thank you, and I will answer whatever questions I can.
You said disposed at multiple locations. Have you found body parts at other locations?
Not yet, but we believe that between the residence and the Crescent Heights Park, there would be locations in there that some of the body parts might have been disposed of.
So in layman's terms, are we safe to say that this person chopped up a body? How was the body dismembered?
As we initially reported, the body was not intact, but as far as specifics go, I don't want to get into that, just out of respect for the victim and her family. She is somebody's daughter, and I don't see any advantage to really getting into the details of that investigatively.
Well, I mean, there's somebody still out there then if you're not charging this guy with any type of homicide. There could be somebody still out there that's hacked up a body and...
We don't believe that to be the case. We don't believe there to be any risk to public safety in this matter. We don't believe that the death is criminal in nature. However, the actions taken post-death definitely substantiate criminal activity, so those are the charges that were laid.
So so you don't believe that her actual death was criminal?
We're still working on that, but as at this point, as of right now, we don't believe that this young lady's death was a result of criminal act. However, the indignity offered to her body after definitely constitutes a criminal act.
So what's the relationship between the victim and the accused?
They're acquaintances of some sort.
And in terms of the home where police went to following the tip, was that the deceased's home?
No, we believe the accused to reside at that residence on First Street Northwest.
So she didn't live there?
Don't believe so.
Can you offer us any insight into why the accused might have done this? Is there any motive? Was he confused about what happened, or believe that something might have been criminal in nature and that's why he did this, or scared?
I believe fear probably did play a significant part of that. As to his exact motivation, I'm not entirely sure, but it's clear there was a series of bad decisions made.
Is he known to you guys?
Not really, no.
Is it believed that there was drugs potentially involved prior to the death that might have contributed to the confusion and the fear?
It's possible. That's something that we're still trying to corroborate.
Are there any charges pending at this time?
No other charges are pending at this time. However, the investigation is still continuing, so anybody that has any more information and would like to come forward, we'd encourage to do so.
Inspector, how long do you think the body was in these different locations?
I would say, so far, based on our investigation, some loose timelines would be the Crescent Heights scene would be within a couple of days is what we're kind of the best we can narrow it down so far. And prior to that, I'm not exactly sure.
Any last questions?
When you say that there's no other locations that you guys are looking into for remains, do you mean that they disposed of, it was like taken away in the garbage or something like that, like from the home?
Yeah, well, that's one possibility we're looking at is currently searching landfills. We have some ideas where we believe that to be the case, but we don't have that yet. So the landfill is one location that's actively being searched.
How difficult is it to search I mean, obviously you'd hope you don't find body parts at a landfill all the time, but on a scale of how many resources and what that entails to search a landfill, can you talk a little bit about that?
It takes a lot of resources, obviously. The guys and gals that are out doing that are diligent and hoping not to miss anything. We take some steps through the city to identify from a neighborhood where in the landfill that might be dumped, that garbage would be dumped, and then start searching there. We utilize our canine unit and some strategies like that to try to make it as efficient as possible. But it is very resource intensive.
So you say the body was possibly there for a couple of days. Had anybody reported the victim missing, or did anybody notice that she was gone?
She was reported missing on June 9th by a family member, which would be after she was discovered.
Are you guys actively searching right now for any more spots? You mentioned that there might be some more body parts in between where you found them and the person's house. Are you guys actively searching right now?
We're actively searching landfill sites and looking for any other information that may corroborate any whereabouts of any evidence relating to this.
As far as parts of the areas in the community go, there's nothing being searched right now?
I don't believe so.
Don, how critical was, because there was a tip from the public that led to the home, I guess, or something in that timeline. Just how important was tips from the public following the initial call for tips from the public? I mean, how critical has that been to the investigation?
It proved quite significant in this case, and what happens with tips from the public, there's investigative steps that are undertaken right away, and information from the public can corroborate some of that. In this case, there was two pieces of information that came forward that were helpful to investigators for sure.
And what about obviously dealing with a very quite gruesome case here? I mean, what kinds of services have been made available to not only police involved in finding the parts, but also to the passerby? Can you speak to that at all? I mean, how that person was affected? I mean, I can imagine walking, in a park, whatever.
Yeah, it would be quite traumatic for sure. So we're fortunate the Calgary Police Service has lots of programs for employees and victims of crime through victim services to get whatever assistance may be required.
Has the accused been cooperative?
Since being taken into custody, he's been cooperative, to the best of my knowledge, yeah.